Hello guys, I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to another video of mine where we'll be doing the usual, analyzing anime, looking more into depth within it, finding the meanings behind them and reasons why certain shots and scenes are animated the way they are. It's one thing to watch it, but it's another to learn about it, just so you, the viewer, can enjoy it just a little bit more. Today's video is going to be a special one, as we're going to do a quick diversion from the current anime we're analyzing, Hibike Euphonium, to another one that you may recognize just a little bit more. A Silent Voice, or by its Japanese name, Portait no Katachi, is an anime teen drama film released in 2016 by well-seasoned production company Kyoto Animation. Adapted from a 7-volume manga of the same name by author and artist Yoshitoki Oima. It's a good film, one I recommend watching because it touches upon many subjects that many people today are bound to observe, realize, and experience. It's a delicate film, one that should be taken seriously, as it means a lot, and beyond the most important tropes comes a layer of other important details that contributes to the film's beauty. Few others in the anime industry convey the nuance of human body language and emotion better than Portait no Katachi's director, Naoko Yamada, fitting for a film that relies heavily on nonverbal communications and expressions, a myriad of silent voices with a lot to convey. Initially joining Kyoto Animation as a key animator, Yamada's career evolved with her directorial debut in Clannad, and rose to relevance via her head directorial debut in K-On! Yamada's directing style is beloved among slice-of-life fans because of her distinct intimacy and bodily expression from shot to shot. Yamada's shots are often close and personal. She succeeds so effectively as a nonverbal storyteller because she denotes special attention and detail to characters' facial reactions and body language. With Yamada, close-ups of shots of faces and eyes give us a personal understanding of strife or emotions, while quick cuts of hands, legs, arms, thighs, or feet will key the viewer into the nuance of emotions a character is feeling, all without having to be stated directly. Her understanding of how humans react to their environments and adversities is bar none. Beyond being such an intricate bodily and emotional storyteller, Yamada is a visionary and a poet. Her use of motif and metaphor can carry many of her narratives as we see throughout her floriography and symbolism, and particularly dominant in her most recent cinematic work, Liz and the Blue Bird. If while watching this film you feel the breadth and depth of the character's struggles, this is the calling card of Yamada's near mastering of her slice of life craft. Her style is close, intimate, and a case study in human reaction and emotion. Her stories always come to life. Flowers are seen in this film as a very big motif. They are very prevalent in the various shots in this film, and I challenge you to count every single shot in this film with a flower. It's a very unique way to represent different personalities and directorial styles, and it shows the ingenuity of Yamada's directing style, as she interprets different meanings in a different way. Different flowers in the film represent different flowers represent different meanings in the film. For example, daisies mean loyal love, gentleness, and innocence. There are some shots with Shoko right next to daisies, especially in this one, where it shows the death and dying of someone innocent. In this case, it's Shoko. Towards the end, when Ueno beats up Shoko again, more daisies are seen, and she is seen depicted with this innocence as the audience understands that her feelings are hard to understand and depict. Another one I would want to talk about are sunflowers, which mean adoration. When Shoko and Ishida go on a date during the summer, we are greeted with sunflowers, representing adoration. Adoration as in great warmth and affection. Both Shoko and Ishida exhibit a particular closeness to each other, especially during this part. And the last one I'd like to talk about are chrysanthemums, an observation that sticks out to me. The chrysanthemum flower is a flower that signifies friendship and long life. The ones that are seen in the movie, yellow ones, however, symbolize neglected love or sorrow, which makes sense due to the matter that one of the shots has Shoko in the water after her notebook was thrown in there, after she tries to establish a friendship with Ishida. One crazy theory that I also believe really isn't plausible but very fun to connect with the film is the short story book Chrysanthemum, which basically covers the story of a mouse named Chrysanthemum who was bullied for her name at school, similar to how Shoko was bullied for her disability. It's a far stretch, however, but I believe this observation and connection really interests me because it's one that I never saw coming. So, to conclude, it's a very cool detail to observe in the film, how Yamada tries to use different methods such as flowers to convey a message in a film in which the characters have difficulty communicating with each other. Yuzuru, Shoko's sister, establishes herself as a freelance photographer to the audience, who takes photos of things she sees, and she always has a Nikon DSLR on hand wherever she goes. However, the movie doesn't really explain much about the photographs very well, as there was a scene in the film where Yuzuru had a flashback that covered a very important aspect between her and Shoko's relationship. When Shoko comes home crying to her sister, she says something in sign language that is very important. This sign language meant to imitate a samurai dying a noble death by impaling oneself with a katana is interpreted as Shoko wanting to die. Why does it have importance to Yuzuru's photographs? Along some of the walls of the Nishimiya household, you could see pictures lined up, all of them of dead animals in nature. Shoko saying that she wanted to die gave her sister motivation to take pictures of dead animals in nature, trying to prove to her sister that dead things are not beautiful, that she doesn't want her to be such a thing. In the manga, it is clearly seen that this detail isn't very well represented in the film. The koi may be blatantly obvious as there are a few shots of them, however, there's a deeper meaning behind them that isn't very obvious. To understand the meaning behind koi, let's talk about a very important legend that brought fame to the koi fish itself. In this huge school of golden koi swimming upstream in the Yellow River of China, they fought against the current until they met a waterfall at the end of the river. Most of the koi decided to turn away as they believed they couldn't make it. However, the koi that stayed didn't want to give up. The koi at the bottom of the river leapt from the depths of the river. Despite their efforts, they couldn't reach the top. Demons had mocked them, making the waterfall taller. However, after 100 years of jumping, one of them had finally reached the top. The gods had recognized it for its perseverance and determination, turning it into a golden dragon, which is seen as powerful and strong. Because of this legend, koi fish are seen as powerful and strong. This legend can be symbolized very well in this film, as the film itself is talking about overcoming adversity, discovering the good in yourself. It's a genius motif, one that really does speak out and explain the creative abilities that Yamada has introduced. As seen with koi, water also has a very important meaning in this film. There is literal waterfall imagery in this film, which isn't really a coincidence. For example, there is a waterfall seen next to Yuzuru as she was crying under the bridge. It's very unique as it represents adversity, misfortune, as this was directly right after Yuzuru's grandmother had died. She is crying, while the water is pouring down right in front of her. There are other shots and scenes that utilize waterfalls, as with this one when Shoko and Ishida go out on a date. Look at this. Does this signify something important? That's correct. Shoko and Ishida are the koi, seen at the bottom of the waterfall. They are the main subjects of the film, who work and persevere and strive to see the better ends of themselves. At the bottom of the waterfall, they have to jump up and strive, just like in the legend of the koi. It's a strong moral. Light is very essential to this film. It's a major motif that is introduced at the very beginning and at the very end. It's a motif that bookends the whole film. We have seen many instances in the film where Shoko contrasts to light through differences in how the light is conveyed and the camera angle relative to the sun. There are always a lot of blown out or lens flared shots of Shoko. However, other characters as well are depicted with these set points of light. The movie leads us to believe that Shoko is Ishida's only point of light, and especially at the end, when Yamada makes the reveal of the end much more grand, when all of the X's fall off and Ishida is crying. Notice how in the final shot of the film, the first shot is played again, of the little circle of light and image. However, now it's expanding slowly as Ishida is crying, and the various characters are seen smiling. Before the credits roll, the light finally fills up the whole screen. Ishida, however, does not have one point of light. He has many, as it cuts to shots of all his friends, with the orbs of light in the background. This is his big moment. In the credits, instead of it having just a dark black background, we see many of the points of life in Ishida's life, just as he just saw himself. This one may not be obvious to the eye, however, the way Yamada has interpreted pigeons in the film is one not to miss. Pigeons are seen in a few shots of the movie, However, there is one not to mistake. There is a shot that establishes that point-of-light metaphor which we have just recently talked about, in which the lone figure, the pigeon, is within that gap in the trees. That single entity, the pigeon, is a parallel shot to one of the opening shots. By first associating Shoko with the pigeons in the scene where she is seen feeding them, it then combines the light motif with Shoko, represented in the center of the light gap. This pigeon in the light is Shoko. She is the spot of light in Ishida's life. It's a clever way of metaphorically establishing Shoko. It creates a brilliant thematic moment of symbolism and foreshadowing, as a dead pigeon is the subject of Yuzuru's winning photo. Her photo is the realized fears she had for her sister, who conveyed once before that she wished to die, as I've mentioned. Shoko, represented as the dead pigeon, is reinforced through a parallel shot of her lifeless, bloodied body in Yuzuru's flashback sequences. The Ides of a foreboding foreshadow through clever thematic play by Yamada have thus been struck. The composer of the soundtrack, Kensuke Ushio, is as much a refined composer as he is a sound and ambience artist. While certain tracks in the film like SVG
俺と西宮友達になれるかな
and lit variations adhere to the convention of melody, akin to his tracks in Devilman Crybaby, with Ushio and the Koei soundtrack. That is always not the case. Ushio's tracks are unique to other composers because of his ability to manipulate sounds and audio to create tracks that can best be described as ambience. In many of his tracks, lyrical winds and percussive voices may flutter in, to, and out of focus seemingly at random intervals in such a way that establishes an atmosphere and immersiveness. In pieces like Heartbeat, Rev, THN, Ushio uses gentle piano sounds and ambient noise to create a sensory experience that diverges from the convention of music. In these tracks, ultra-sensitive microphones pick up noises from the inner hammers and strings from the piano, filling in and shaping the moments between the notes. Through these techniques, Ushio creates an array of ambient tracks that allow the viewer chiller transition of Koe no Katachi. Ushio depicts the breadth and depth of the silent yet lyrical voices that define the convention of sound. Much like Yamada's expressive directing, Ushio's soundtrack pieces shape the expressiveness of the notes beyond what is simply heard at face value. The color palette in Koe has the bias towards a more realistic setting. However, the colors are very light. Even the shots at night can be seen to be very vibrant and bright. The majority of the clothes that the characters wear throughout the film are seen to be light colored and give off a warmer, much more inviting feeling throughout the film. Most of the coloring shows much more blues and pinks, and in color theory, a film that is usually biased towards the blues and magentas usually stimulate imagination and artistic quality. It increases love, honesty, calmness, and emotional depth and devotion. I believe this film holds true importance to the viewer, as it entails a lot of major themes that should not be ignored, especially in our society today. It conveys the message of stress, the importance of self-love, the feeling that no matter who you are, somebody will always care for you. It's a harsh message, one that is delicate at most, but it's one that I believe you and I should take a moment to realize. It holds true to being realistic. None of the moments in this film can be disregarded as unrealistic. It reaches out to you, the viewer, in a cruel way, because it only shows the harsh reality of life with no distortions or manipulation of reality. Everything in this film is realistic. The things that happen in the film can happen to you, or you may experience it, or you may have stories and memories of such events occurring. It's knowing that such things happen in this world that make this film very important. But with all bad things aside, we have to learn again that we shouldn't take our lives for granted. It teaches us the importance of always being good to each other, learning that everyone is important, that nobody is left out. It shows you about how we, as humans, are compassionate beings, that in the end we should love each other. It teaches you how precious you can be to someone else, how you are never alone. And that's why I believe this film really comes close to a lot of people, and I would believe so for you as well. Koe no Katachi remains in a special place in my heart, as it really means a lot to me. I'm pretty sure this film means a lot to other people as well, because it's a very delicate, well-made piece, which also hits close to many experiences as well. It's one of the most highly rated anime of all time, and one of the most talked about as well, and it shows how good of a film, how impactful it is. I feel like the themes are conveyed and executed very well, and the characters have very good development. It doesn't drag on, and I feel like I had my eyes glued onto the screen for the entire length. As I've said, a good anime is one that you can relate to. Thank you. Have a good day.